Once more, he fumbled for his matches, then suddenly he stood still and listened. The frightened cry of a barking deer, followed by a crashing sound in the undergrowth made Baldio hurry. So that the shadows leapt up and down the soot stained walls, and having made sure that the line was clear, he returned to the entrance and sat down to wait for the mail train. He was waiting for the train. The train was late, sitting huddled up, almost dozing. He soon forgot his surroundings and began to nod. Back in the hut, the trembling of ground told of an approach of train, and a low, distant rumble woke the boy, who sat up rubbing the sleep from his eyes. Father, it's time to light the lamp, he mumbled, and then realizing that his father had been gone some time. He lay down again, but he was wide awake now, waiting for the train to pass, waiting for his father's returning footsteps. Baldio finds himself in a dangerous situation. How does he deal with it? Let's find out. A low grunt resounded from the top of the cutting. In a second, Baldio was awake. All his senses were alert, and only a tiger could emit such a sound. There was no shelter for Baldio, but he grasped his axe firmly and tensed his body, trying to make out the direction from which the animal was approaching. For some time, there was only silence. Even the usual jungle noises seemed to have ceased altogether. Then a thump and the rattle of small stones announced that Tiger had sprung into the cutting. Baldio, listening as he had never listened before, wondered if it was making for the tunnel or the opposite direction, the direction of the hut, in which Tambu would be lying unprotected. As you see in the slide, he did not have to wonder for long. Before a minute had passed, he made out the huge body of the tiger trotting steadily towards him. In eyes shone a brilliant green in the light from the signal lamp. Flight was useless, for in the dark the tiger would be more sure footed than Baldio and would soon be upon him from behind. Baldio stood with his back to the signal post. The tiger used to the ways of men, for it had been trained on them for years, came fearlessly with a quick run and a snarl, struck out with its right paw, expecting to bowl over the spunny. Baldio, however, was ready with a marvelously agile leap. He avoided the paw and brought his axe down to the animal's shoulder. The tiger gave a roar and attempted to close in. Again, Baldio drove his axe with which caught the tiger on the shoulder, almost severing the leg. To make matters worse, the axe remained stuck in the bone, and Baldio was left with no weapon. The tiger, roaring with pain, now sprung upon Baldio, bringing him down and then tearing at his broken body. It was all over in a sharp few seconds. Baldio was conscious only of searing pain down his body, and then there was blackness, and the night closed in him forever. It means he died. Baldio, the breadwinner of the family, was dead. Who took on his responsibilities? How did he tackle them? Let's find out. The tiger drew off and sat down, licking his wounded leg, roaring every now and then with agony. He did not notice the faint rumble that shook his earth, followed by an engine. The overland mail was approaching. Through the trees beyond the cutting as the train advanced, the glow of the furnace cloud be seen, and showers of sparks fell like Diwali lights over the forest. As the train entered the cutting, the engine whistled once. Loud and precisely, the tiger raised his head, then slowly got to his feet. He found himself trapped like a man. Flight along cutting was impossible. He entered the tunnel, running as fast as his wounded leg would carry him. It's just like when a man is trapped. Similarly, Trigal felt like that. And then, with a roar, with a shower of sparks, the train entered the yawning tunnel. The noise in the confined space was deafening, but when the train came out in the open on the other side, silence returned. At next station, the driver slowed down and stopped his train to water the engine. He got down to stretch his legs and decided to examine the headlamps. He received the surprise of his life. Just above the cowcatcher lay the major portion of the tiger, cut in half by the engine. There was considerable excitement and conjecture at the station, but back at cutting there was no sound except the sobs of boy as he sat beside the body of his father. He sat there a long time, unafraid of the darkness, guarding the body from jackals and hyæns, until the first faint light of dawn brought it the arrival of the relief watchman. He sat down in the darkness, wait for the train, sang softly to himself. There was nothing to be afraid of. His father had killed the tiger. The forest gods were pleased, and besides, he had the axe with him, his father's axe, and he now knew to use it. I hope everything that I have taught you today You learnt well with the grammar and the lesson. I hope it interests you all. Thank you.